This is Tommy's Outdoors 99, tommysoutdoors.com. Folks, today is a special episode, and why it is special episode? Well, number of things. Number one, it is a first episode for over a year that I recorded face-to-face. Not over Zoom, not over internet, but face-to-face. So it is kind of like a back to normal, because regular listeners might remember that this is how I used to record an episodes. Just go to people and meet them and hang out with them, and that was different than just doing it over Zoom. So this is back to normal this way. And number two, our guest is a special guest, Bertie Brosnan. Bertie was our guest already on episode, I think it was 51, where we talked about fighting the illegal salmon netting in Ireland. But even then, it felt like Bertie had so much more to offer, and we knew that at some point another episode with Bertie going to happen, and this is today. So you'll read the title of that episode, probably, Hunting and Dog Training, but there is so much more, and I treat this episode as a special one, as a kind of like a historical record. And to illustrate that, I tell you a story. A number of years ago, we were on a tour of island of Whiddy on the coast of Ireland. I think it's in Bantry Bay. And the guy who was guiding us, they were talking about how, things were here and there, and this year this happened, and that year something else happened, and he had immense knowledge about the history of the island. But then towards the end of the tour, he stopped and he said, this guy, he was, lived through this and that guy was there, and then he paused and said, we should have talked more with them while they were still around. And this is how I treat this episode, because these folks who lived through the, old times, they have so much knowledge and they have so much experience, and it is really worth talking to them and preserving that, not only to know how the past looked like, how things used to be, but also, learn from that and take some learning for the future. So this is how I treat this episode, and it was absolutely great talking with Bertie, where, in the podcast, we talked about a woods that is here in the area, and today is just like a park, place where you take your kids and dog on a Sunday morning. But back in the day, they were going fishing there, they were going hunting there. It was like a proper woods. Like, that is gone, and it is, really opportunity that might not be, for too long, that we have to talk to those folks and learn how the things used to be. So I not only encourage you to do the same, and if you know some people who've been around, talk to them, ask them how things used to be. And it's my great pleasure and honor today bring you that conversation with Bertie, where we're going to talk about, times that are gone. And obviously, still the subject is hunting and dog training, and Bertie has an immense experience in hunting and dog training. But for me, it's just a piece of history, and I'm really feel privileged and honored that I'm able to bring you that historical record, that discussion about how the things used to be. So that's it for his introduction. And as usual, before I let you enjoy this episode of Tommy's Outdoors, if you like what I do, if you like the podcast and you would like to support, the best way to do that is share the podcast with your friends and anyone who may be interested in it. And also leave a rating, leave the comment, write the review, give a thumbs up or 5 stars, depending on the platform you're listening or watching this podcast on. This is great help for me and for the podcast. And now, ladies and gentlemen, Bertie Brosnan and Hunting and Dog Training. Bertie, Welcome back to the show.
Thank you.
It's good. It's great to see you and great to talk to you again.
We're still above the ground with all this COVID, and we're still managing to survive.
Absolutely. You look more than just survive. You thrive.
Well, I'm out every day. I'm away from all the hustle and the bustle.
Yeah.
I spend most of my time in the cabin and in the fields and with the horses and
Yeah.
the pigs and the poultry and the dogs and
Wow. That sounds amazing.
yes, it isn't too bad. It's I built up this thing over many years. Built it up
Hmm.
hard and slow and hard.
Right. Right.
You
How
know,
how big is the land?
well, you see, we people that own bits of land, we don't like telling people how much we own.
Oh, okay. Okay. Sorry.
But no. The thing is, if we have the cabin is on 3 acres with the ponds and I have a few flighting duck going in there, but I actually don't shoot them, to be honest.
Mhm.
And I have pheasants. I feed pheasants, wild pheasants,
Mhm.
and like there's there's the hen harrier, which is very very rare now,
Oh, really?
but she's very rare. But I have seen her twice this year.
Mhm.
But the buzzards are starting to move in now.
Mhm.
Are you familiar with the buzzards?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they start. I saw one now before I came down this
Yeah.
evening.
About Hen Harrier, are you part of this program? Because there's like a
No,
program of.
no, there is, yeah, but I'm not involved.
Mhm.
You know, the the problem. It's like everything. Look, it's like going back to the fisheries and everything. The damage is done.
Mhm.
They've destroyed the habitats.
Yeah.
That everything we can destroy it in 20 years. Just change a few trees, like they've done with this. As I keep going back to
Yeah.
the spruce trees,
Yeah.
they done terrible damage with those. Now, saying that, as you know, and most people would know that are into wildlife, when one habitat is destroyed, new species will move in.
Yeah.
Like the Sika deer now has been seen not far from me.
Mhm.
So they've come from Killarney, obviously
Yeah.
along the river courses. That's how they travel.
So they were in the Seekers
They
before.
were never in the Stax Mountains, no, but
Mhm.
they're there now.
Wow.
And
Do
as I
you
said,
hunt? Do you hunt them?
no, not up there, no. But I've hunted them in France.
Mhm.
I've hunted them in different parts of Kerry.
Mhm.
But I'm not really interested in big game hunting.
Uh huh.
It's not my thing,
Yeah.
you know. But
You more of a bird shooting or you small
well,
game?
believe it or not, like the kind of warrior is gone in me. The hunter gatherer is kind of gone. I kind of protect things now.
Uh-huh.
I see things for their beauty now.
Mhm.
But I do shoot the occasional pheasant now, or woodcock or snipe
Mhm.
with when I'm training young dogs. I have
Yeah.
to show them what it's all about.
Yeah.
But as for the killing, I'm no longer a killer.
You know what? This is very common, and I heard that from many people who went exactly like they were hunting. They were crazy. They were like
Yeah,
I love hunting,
yeah. It was like
and the time they
yeah.
get older, I was talking with the old gamekeeper in Poland, and he said like the rifle is taking me for a walk.
That,
So he
yeah.
takes the rifle, takes the
Mm,
binos. He's ready like for a hunt,
mm, mm,
but he hadn't fire a shot for like 6-12
mm.
months.
But even the foxes now above around me, there's a few cubs up there, and
Mhm.
there's foxes. I don't kill them anymore. I kill them. One time I slaughtered them.
Mhm.
I snared them, trapped them, shot them.
Mhm.
I skinned them.
Mhm.
I sold their furs in London, Queen
Wow.
Vic, Queen Victoria Street in London, Rosenborg. The Jews, the feral cats.
Mhm.
I skinned them.
Mhm.
Mink, any kind, any fur. I'm going back a long time now. I'm 67 at the moment. But when I was 18, 19, 20, or at that time, you could sell all the furs.
Yeah.
And I used to, what you'd have to do is dry the skins,
Mhm.
stretch them out in boards and sun dry them. And
Mhm.
then you roll them and send them across the water. And
Yeah.
I got massive money from, I mean, big pounds. I was being paid in pounds.
Yeah.
And that time, 20, 25 pound was a lot of money for
Yeah.
one skin.
Yeah.
Like,
Wow.
yeah. And so if you shot them in the head,
Mhm.
you see, I worked in a shoe factory when I left school.
Mhm.
and I was a pattern cutter by trade.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're dealing with pelts, animal skins, pelts,
Mm-hmm.
you have to save the back of the pelt,
Yeah.
because that's where they get all the like when they're making the shoes, for instance, now leather shoes,
Yeah.
they want as little waste as possible.
Yeah.
You know where I'm coming
Oh
from?
yeah, yeah, yeah. I get you.
So
I get
if
you.
the
So
skin, if
there's the
the
biggest part, like
yeah,
the
so
back, and
if you like, I snared animals and they got caught around the neck and they died.
mm-hmm.
I shot them in the head with a 22 rifle,
Mm-hmm.
and there was no damage to the pelt.
Was it 250?
No, no, a 22, small
Oh,
22,
LR, the rimfire.
just a single shot
Uh-huh.
anchors rifle. That's what I used to use.
Yeah.
Shoot them straight through between the eyes,
Yeah.
and I'd never damage the pelt. I wouldn't shoot them unless I was almost 100%. I wasn't a bad shot.
Mm-hmm.
I was good at it,
Yeah.
And the thing is, what happened then was that they fellas wanted to kill him far away, and they'd get all these new modern technology, and
Mm-hmm.
should half the pelts they destroyed them,
Uh,
Well, when you hit, well, can you imagine now shooting, as you said, with the big high powered rifles,
yeah.
and you hit an animal down the shoulder or on the
Oh
back,
yeah.
they're in bits,
Exactly.
and the pelt is all destroyed.
Yeah. Yeah.
But anyway, my way was the simple way.
Mm-hmm.
Two, nice and handy. Move along slowly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Bang.
Have you been using any chemicals for drying?
No.
No.
All I done was a big board.
Mm-hmm.
Big board. I was trained
Yeah.
by an
So
old.
we just stretch him on the
I was
board
I was
and
I was
let it sun dry.
yeah, I was trained by a man called Joe Scanlon.
Mm-hmm.
He was the last warmer. He was it, like he was a master of everything. During the war years, you understand, they shot and killed everything. They supplied the Irish market and the English market.
Mm-hmm.
You can for feather, they killed swans, they killed everything.
Wow.
Otters, anything of value was killed. Animals were just, well, animals are still like that, but most people go into the supermarkets
Mm-hmm.
and they buy their tin can.
Yeah.
Can of this or a packet of that.
Yeah.
They're still gathering their food off the shelves now. But in the old days, that's the way it was done, whether people like it or not. But he showed me how to dry the pelts, and what you had to do. You had to take the legs and all off, and you stretch the skin with tiny little tacks.
Mm-hmm.
You understand?
Mm-hmm.
And then you put it out in the sun and to dry,
Yeah.
and then you'd roll it.
Yeah.
Like a piece of paper.
So you wouldn't even use like salt or anything?
Nothing. No.
Whoa.
Nothing. Just dry them and send. Well, you'd have to take the fat off.
Yes.
But they'd be
the flesh and fat.
But to be honest, there's very little fat in the fox.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that's gospel.
And
true.
what were you doing when it was like raining?
But sure. Believe it or not, they say there's a lot of rain in Ireland, but I'm out in the weather every day, 7 days a week,
Mm-hmm.
in the mountain, and doing my bits and pieces. And the thing is, there's a lot more dryness in the days than there is wet days, and people find that hard to believe. You can walk within the showers.
I agree.
Between the showers, like the occasional heavy downpours might come for a couple of days, but then it stops and it all dries.
But if there was you were dry.
But you could put them into sheds.
Oh, okay. That's
with plenty air.
Airflow.
Plenty air, like the way they used to dry the turf.
Mm-hmm.
They have little slats. The same you'd often see buildings with cattle there with little slats, so the air can flow through.
Yeah.
But that was then. This is now. But what I'm trying to portray is the old stories, because a lot of the old stories are gone.
Absolutely.
And but
I have a question. Like, why do you think it's going this way, that people with age they're less fancy killing and hunting?
Believe it or not, when I started off hunting first, it was for rabbits. I keep ferrets. I still keep ferrets. Mm-hmm. I still have 2 ferrets for sentimental reason. Mm-hmm. And there was a friend of mine. He used to make his own nets. He said he used to actually make them with his hands,
Yeah.
And Michael Shea. He died young. He got a brain hemorrhage. But he'd make the nets and we'd go off on our motorbikes that time, and we'd ferret the rabbits, catch them alive, and the reason we done that was to sell them to the greyhound people. Now people won't like this either, but you have to blood the greyhounds, whether we like it or not. That's the way it was done. They leave the rabbit off. The young pup will chase it, kill it, and if the rabbit screeches, better again. At least you know you have a good pup. Some dogs won't chase at all; they're no good.
So these were greyhounds for racing,
for coursing, and for track racing.
Also for both.
For both, yeah.
Okay.
It's called blooding the dog. It had to be done. It's a great sport. You know, a lot of people. Oh no. But you see, what really pisses me off, to be honest, when they brought in the maximatotus and they brought in another disease then to attack. I can't think of the name of it now at the moment. They brought in another disease. I think it was the golf courses that brought them in. That because of destroying the grass. You know, the hares as well.
Gotcha.
Two things happened. Right, the maximatotus that was brought in, and then this new disease. It was the first time I saw it was in Fermoy Strand. All the rabbits were dead, and I didn't. No one ever opened their mouth about it. But one rabbit is killed by a greyhound, and there's murder. And there's thousands of rabbits dying slow, agonizing deaths, and nothing done about it.
You're right.
And no one gave a shit. And there was nothing worse to go into the field and see all these rabbits dead all over the place. It was absolutely outrageous. You know, but farming, that's the way it is done. It's the same with the deer. Sure, they want to shoot every deer. Michael Healy Wayne, I wouldn't be too fond of deer. As he said, when God made the world and animals, the worst animal he made was a deer.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because they're eating the farmer's grass. And grass is scarce in Kelly.
Yeah. Oh, really? Is it? I didn't know that.
Well, in the mountain terrain.
Yeah.
In the mountains, like the grass is very scarce. You know, people had to, as the man said, take up the stones from the field to make the grass. You know, for the cattle, the sheep, the donkeys, the horses.
So I'm just when I go back to the question that people are more tend to, you know, be less fond of killing, less fond of, you know, hunting per se, and more kind of enjoying the. Do you think it's related to kind of age and inevitable realization of own mortality, or is it because we see the change in the habitat? Like you said, we see that there's less animals and the habitat is more and more damaged.
Yeah. You see, intensive farming, intensive forestry, intensive housing,
intensive everything.
Intensive everything. You're taking a bit all the time, and every bit you take, it's destruction. To the actual habitat, and it's the same with the water systems. The amount of rubbish that goes into the water, like from all this spraying of this and spraying of that, kills everything. And then you see, I think I said in the last podcast with the fishing, the most important thing are the insect life.
Yes.
Everything starts small.
It's a base for everything.
Yeah, everything starts small. Ourselves, the human race, started small.
Yeah.
But the thing is, it's to feed the population, farming, like hunter-gatherers. Then what did they do? They started domesticating the dog, domesticating different animals, you know, and then they invented or they created the farming, and then they said, oh, we don't have to go out in the bad weather anymore. No, we can have a few hens, and we can have we can kill the pig, we can kill the sheep, kill the lamb. You know, and then it got bigger and bigger. It's massive now. Like look at the intensive and the massive, especially American-owned places, and I suppose even China and all the big to feed the massive populations. they just destroy everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's the population, the human.
Do you see this as a problem?
Um,
Do you see this as a
oh, a
problem?
major. Like there's an old saying, like each field can only support so many animals.
Mm-hmm.
You only if you if you they done it in the mountains in Kerry. They overpopulated the mountains with sheep when they were getting the grants. They overpopulated and they destroyed the mountain habitats.
Mm-hmm.
Destroyed it absolutely,
Mm-hmm.
ate it into the bone.
Yeah, it's interesting, because when we talk, even before we started the podcast, we talk about how hunting is not something that majority of people look you know fond of, and like hunting is and like you even mentioned, oh, they killed one rabbit because of hair coursing and so on. That's a major upheaval.
Yeah,
But at the same time, you seems to be expressing the sentiment precisely the same as some of the ecologists do, which is overgrazed hills, too many sheep,
destructive. Yeah,
too intensive
it's
farming.
bad management.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of the farmers, I keep saying, you can't really blame the farmer because he's been advised by advisors. It's like these guys building the buildings with the Pyrex
Mm-hmm.
in Dublin and places. You know, who are the guys that sign off on all these things?
Mm-hmm.
Why are they? Do you ever see them being prosecuted? And, you just don't.
Yeah.
If they seem to vanish into the woodwork when the trouble starts.
Yes.
You know? Who
Exactly.
signed off on this? Who signed off on that? You never get to the bottom of it. But no, like I'm a real bit of an Indian, really.
Mm-hmm.
Spiritual. My spiritual being is always in the fields.
Yeah.
That's where I get it. I don't get. You look at the stars at night and you wonder and all this, but
Mm.
to me, once you're gone, that's it.
Yes.
Finished.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that's another day's work. But I started off when I was very young.
Mm-hmm.
'Cause I come from a family of 7 boys and 1 girl, small house,
Mm-hmm.
Catholic, and there's not much room in the house. I suppose we started off. We used to be always out. My mother used to send us out. We used to be going up to the river, catching what we call quichons with the onion bag, and it's all kind of finding eels and
Mm-hmm.
looking under stones and
Mm-hmm.
what's this and what's that.
Eels, you probably won't
It's
see the
better than
eel
that.
these days.
It's boy, yeah. I remember the eels, millions upon millions of them coming. I think they were coming in,
Mm-hmm.
not going out. I think they breed in the Sargasso Sea, I think.
Yeah.
But I remember in the River Main, there's been millions of them. You'd see them like what a line.
Mm-hmm.
It was frightening, like millions upon millions of them. Unbelievable. Yeah, millions on both sides. They'd be on the sides of the river. They go coming in.
Yeah.
But I started off when I was very young, out in the rivers, and we used to be robbing orchards, getting apples and pears, and we'd be picking wild fruit,
Mm-hmm.
and all that kind of stuff. Always out, making our own bit of a tree house or a tent, and going to Ballyseedy Wood and all that. A little gang of us, up into the mountains swimming.
How did Ballyseedy Wood look back then?
Well, Ballyseedy Wood when I was growing up was my training ground.
Uh-huh.
I used to go there with Spartan Rex hunting. They'd be following foxes and hares,
Mm-hmm.
but that never really happened.
Uh-huh.
It was only when I started when I got the motorbike. I started off snaring rabbits, snaring foxes. When I was about 18, it all really kicked in, because the old fella, Jareen, he told me the value of the falls and all this kind of stuff. And then I got involved with the ferret and with him
Mm-hmm.
and catching the live rabbits and selling them. And it was like a little business then,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But then I used to shoot the pigeons in Ballyseedy Wood. The wood pigeon.
The wood pigeon. I was
Yeah,
gonna ask.
but I used to get my bullets. Like money was very scarce when I was growing up. You had very little money.
Mm-hmm.
I suppose money's always scarce, really, isn't it?
Yeah, but
No matter
I know what you're saying.
Yeah.
But you're probably gonna say that even though money was scarce, you probably were the life was richer
Oh, it was, yeah, without a
because of
doubt.
all these things that
Because
you.
it was actually like that was our heroin and our cocaine.
Mhm.
That was mine, anyway,
Yeah,
without a doubt.
yeah,
Without a doubt.
yeah.
That's what I loved.
Hmm.
You know, absolutely adored, loved it. Like we used to go into the wood at night, myself and Mike Shea. No, we used to go into the woods at night, storm, gale force winds with trees falling down. We've often had trees falling down,
Uh-huh.
and the reason we went in at those bad nights because that time now the wood was full of pigeons, wood
Oh.
pigeons, thousands and thousands of them. And we used to go with the 2-2, and we used to carry the battery up that time, a car battery up on our back,
Hmm. Wow.
and then we made up the lamps ourselves because the lowest wattage and the highest voltage, if you can balance that, you got a great spotlight. But
Hmm.
but we always carried 6 or 7 bulbs because we'd blow the bulbs eventually. But that was the experiments those times.
Yes.
We used to be experimenting all the time. But we used to shoot. I used to do most of the shooting. I did a little cocker dog. Her name was Elsa. She was a golden cocker crossed with something else. I don't know, but she was chocolate.
Hmm.
But when I used to shoot the pigeons, I used to shoot them in the craw.
Oh.
So you know the craw,
Yeah,
don't
yeah,
you?
yeah.
So there's no damage done to the chest because you know
Hmm.
yourself the best
Yeah.
part of the pigeon is the chest, pure black meat. But there was a fella called John Edwards. He had a gun shop in Tralee,
Hmm.
and I bought the rifle. Um, I think I bought the rifle off of Sonny Mannix. It was an Anchor single shot with the very difficult to load,
Hmm.
and the very scope. I had a scope on it, but
Hmm.
it was a bad one. It wasn't an expensive one,
Hmm.
cheap. But I used to shoot. But John asked me to bring him in a pair of pigeons once a week
Hmm. Oh.
because I told him I used to shoot them in the craw, and he
Hmm.
said, "Well, if you can shoot pigeons in the craw," he says, "bring me in a pair every week."
Hmm.
So I brought him in a pair every week and shot in the craw. Did no damage to the meat.
Yeah.
He gave me a box of bullets
Uh-huh.
and he said, "Bring in the rifle, I want to see it." And then he went away and he got me a very good scope and gave it to me.
Oh.
Yeah,
That was great.
yeah, he did. He had good.
You
He
see, you didn't need
he
money. It was just
he he
an
had,
exchange.
he appreciated what I was doing for him, you know.
Hmm.
But he loved the chatting about the hunting and the dogs and the
Yeah.
shooting and all that. But that was John, and that was then. But I used to fill a sack. I used to fill a sack
Mm.
of pigeons, and we plucked them out. They're simple to pluck, you know.
Yeah.
Pigeons are simple to pluck, and I used to put them in the deep freeze then and eat them when I wanted to, because you might get 5 or 6. You have to get the perfect nights if you wanted to get a good night,
Yes.
because the pigeons come down low on the trees.
Hmm.
It was easier to see them and shoot them because when you put the lamp on them, they're almost white.
Yes.
They nearly reflect
Yes. Yes. They
back
do.
to you. But we don't want to go down the road boasting now. But I was going out with this girl one time, and there was a guy who came to Ireland. He was British Army. I didn't know that.
Hmm.
I didn't know. He just came over as a cousin of the families or something.
Hmm.
But when he found out that I was shooting, he asked me would I bring him out.
Uh-huh.
So that time now you could walk up the road with the gun up into Clohers. That time before, Clohers house,
Hmm.
there was a wood in along there,
Oh.
and I went up there. There was a bit of a wind. It was a good wind actually, and there was a bit of rain. And I told him to hold the lamp, and I put the thing on. Next thing, I put on the lamp and I'd shoot the bulb, and I I'd send out Elsa, and she'd pick up the bulb, and I'd say, that bulb now is shot under the throat.
Hmm.
And he said to me, "What?" I said, "The bulb is shot under the throat, under there." And he said, "What?" I said, and he said to me, when we got back, he says, "I remember the British Army, but don't tell anyone." He said, "I hate to have you firing at me above in the north of Ireland," he says. If you can do that to those, I would never chance, he says. "You'll be shooting me in the eye," he said. And but we made a joke of it, you know. But I
Hmm.
said
Hmm.
a lot of kids growing up in Ireland, like in the farms and things, they'd be great shots.
Hmm.
They'd be natural shots, you know.
Yeah. I was surprised to learn that in the gun club I'm a member of, these folks, they're winning like a competitions,
Yeah,
like
but
a,
they'd be clay pigeons.
yeah, clay pigeons, but
Mm.
also like a long distance
Yeah,
shooting.
yeah, but
They're like a world champions and
yeah,
stuff. It's like, whoa, I
yeah,
never
yeah.
knew.
But that's all new now. In my day, there was none of that.
Oh
You
yeah.
could just go off shooting once you knew the farmers, and even half the time you wouldn't know them. But once you started rambling off down along the banks of the Lone, or sorry, the main, no, especially
Mhm.
Ballyseedy, no one ever said nothing, Joe. The
Yeah,
farmers wouldn't take any notes of you. You just tell them you're shooting foxes, they'd be delighted,
yeah,
you know.
yeah.
But
You said that you don't you're not shooting foxes anymore. So
no,
are they like not affecting what you
they
do?
do. They actually they kill a lot of my ducks there lately,
This is
but
this is what I'm adding.
But
Like,
this
what's your
this but this time of year, no, the ducks they were a fella gave them to me, didn't want them, they were tame ducks. I didn't really want them either.
Mhm.
But I've the ponds and I put them in, but they spent more time in the grass and the ground in the water, which I find very strange for ducks.
Yeah.
But that's the new type ducks they have now, you know. These runners they call them, I think, you
Oh,
know,
really?
big long. But anyway, this time of year is lethal because the vixen she's training the cubs to hunt.
Yeah.
But they killed a few of them. I didn't mind because I only wanted the reason I have the ducks. I have them in a pen now. I have a goose and a couple of ducks and a couple of hens. They're in a big pen. But I like to leave them out. But I stopped because I'd have nothing left.
Hmm.
But they call in the wild ducks. I put grain in the ponds, and the wild mallard come in. That's what I really want. I
Uh-huh.
want them, you know. But when there's a bit of quacking going on in the ground, they hear it when they're passing. They just come down, you know.
Yeah.
And then once they start feeding, if you start feeding them, then they'll keep coming back, which is great.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's like everything. But the first dogs I had were Elsa and Spot. They were the first dogs I ever had. And then I moved on. I got an Alsatian dog, and I used him in Tralee Bay. Now this is a not very unusual one again. He was a German Shepherd, Alsatian. His name was Lobo. He was an absolute,
Lobo, the
yeah,
wolf.
yeah. He was a great dog. I trained him. I spent hours and hours and hours. I trained him to do everything.
Mhm.
And he was just a one-off, you know. He had it in him, but there was things happened with him. I used to have a Stevens single barrel shotgun, but then I got an automatic shotgun,
Ah.
a Beretta,
Mhm.
and
How many rounds?
three. But you could convert them to four. You take out the stop,
Uh-huh.
and you get four shots. But the same applies to the. We used to shoot the wild geese in the bay.
Yeah.
They're Brent geese. They're horrible to eat.
Uh-huh.
Do you know the Brent? You see
Yeah,
them?
yeah. Are they?
Oh, horrible. They eat eelgrass.
Uh-huh.
And then when you take the wings off, take the neck off, a good mallard is a nicer bird. But you
Oh,
see,
that for sure.
but when you can imagine this now going back to Tralee Bay when the tide is sweeping out, okay?
Hmm.
And then there's the mussel banks. And I was trained again by a fellow called Mahoney, Joel Mahoney. He was a weightlifter, a great weightlifter.
Hmm.
But he was into shooting. His son, I was pal around with his son, and Joel, at that time no cars wasn't that plentiful either, and so I started going along with him. He brought me out to a place called Almonds, and we used to walk down from the road with the guns and a piece of timber.
Hmm.
And what we do then, this was now when I was 18 or 19, 20 maybe that age, but we used to we used to make us wash our hands. This was now when we'd be moving down in January. There could be hailstone, there could be gale force 8 or 9. To get the birds low, you must have the big wind. And you have the tide sweeping out and the wind coming from the east. Do you understand me?
Yeah.
The birds they try to get down under the wind and they're flying low.
Yeah.
So you have the advantage then, and you're lying on the mussel banks.
Hmm.
Now you have oil jackets on you and you're lying back on the mussel bank, and this hailstone hopping off your face, and like it's terrible. Like,
Tough.
oh, it's tough, yeah. And no gloves, no gloves.
Why?
No, he wouldn't allow you gloves.
Uh-huh.
But after you washing your hands in the cold water, when you go down, your hands will start boiling. the tops of your fingers would nearly, you think they're going to explode.
Yes.
And then your hands would get warm all of a sudden.
Mm-hmm.
But you'd be lying there like, and then you'd hear the geese coming up the bay. You know, they're coming up the bay like, and you have to do 90 miles an hour. And then you have to kind of Mel Gibson job, hold, 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 and then up, boom, 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 they're coming down. But I had to kill them, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But we'd pick up what we had then, you know. We'd pick up all, because you could bring a dog if you trained to lie alongside you, but in the slab you'd have no need really.
Mm-hmm.
But I used to bring Lobo after. But that was the way Gerald trained me. And but the mallard and the famous gargany, do you ever hear the gargany ducks?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we used to shoot those. We used to shoot the widgeon. They're whistling up the bay.
Yeah, widgeon.
The teal. We used to shoot all those. Great. They were great days.
Mm-hmm.
Absolute great days. But then I met a few fellas in Quan's pub. They were the O'Connors.
Mm-hmm.
And Jerry O'Connor, he was a great friend of mine after, but he told me the stories then when his father used to use the punt guns during the time of the war.
Yeah.
The same as Jerry and Scannell. You know, the punt guns.
Yeah, the big ones.
They used to go out and they used to float along in the water, lying down inside, painted white, and they had the big gun in the front, like a cannon.
Yes.
A dangerous occupation. And then they'd float the birds, like maybe 200 or 300 birds, and they'd into the middle of them. But they were selling the birds. They were all going to England, most of them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But they were the old days, you know. But that was all hunting. But we were like we plucked the birds, we skinned the birds, we ate the birds.
Mm-hmm.
We were hunters.
Yeah.
We weren't killing for the sake of killing.
Absolutely.
But you know, there's a big difference between a guy. Like for instance, you asked when we started off this conversation. You said, "Do I shoot?" I don't shoot much anymore because guys that are shooting woodcock, that are shooting friends of mine, that are shooting pheasant, they go out the open morning, they shoot all around them, like you know. Where I love to see the birds around for training the dogs, and they'd give them to me. They won't even eat them. My fridges would be full. I've about, I'm not exaggerating. I've 2 deep freezers out there. I've 2 in the mountain and 2 in Castle Island. I've about 6 or 8 fridges. And they'd be full. Most between I'd be getting the deer as well then from other fellas that shoot the deer and they only want the heads. They only want the head, you know. They're trophy hunters.
You know, I'm not comfortable with that. And having said that,
But it's true.
I don't have anything against trophy hunting per se, right?
I'm totally against it.
Yeah, so we can talk about
even though it's part of a man that I work for, part of his business, and it's a great business. But the way they look at it and the way we have to look at it is that the equation again, that the overpopulation of the deer. If they're not shot, there's too many, and that's without a doubt. They're causing accidents in the road. They're going into farmers' fields and they're being shot at 3 o'clock in the morning, just left there.
Yeah.
You know, they're paying them to shoot them. Yeah. Because the grass is gold dust, like in Kerry.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, well, that's a fact.
Is there any factor here that that grass is not kind of diverse, many species of grass, but it's kind of like a monoculture grass?
Well, the grass today, like a lot of the grass is, I call it plastic grass.
Exactly.
That's my.
This is like I read somewhere that this is like a African species of grass.
Well, I can't say that. All I can tell you is the amount of stuff they put on it. There's no if you when you come up to my place now, you'll see all the natural flowers. There's no sprays up where I am. There's no nothing. It's grazed by horses and pigs, and it's all you want to see all the different species up there, birds and insect life and the midges like it eats you alive. It's a great sign of health.
Yeah, exactly. And even the root system is like how deep the grass, like you said, the plastic.
Yeah, but above my place you have the wild grass. You know, it's like for all the world barley or wheat. You know, it's the wild grass. But that's just me. You know.
Is that the reason why the grass is scarce in Kerry? Because there's like a wrong type of grass.
There's a farmer said to me one time, I was going up the side of the hill, driving up, and I met him on the road, and it was during a drought,
Mm-hmm.
and he made, the famous sayings like Michael Fassbender took the piece
Mm-hmm.
about what I said, but he said to me, I said to him, Jesus is dry weather, isn't it? He said, Bertie, he says, this is mighty weather for us up here in the mountain, but any man with good land is fucked. Because it's burnt, the grass is burnt.
Mm-hmm.
But up in the mountain, you see, it's a mountain, it's
Yeah.
a bog. Where I am, Raymore is actually an Irish name for I think it's wasteland or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
It was called the wasteland.
Yeah.
According to John B. Cain, anyway, in the field. That's where I have the bit of ground. It's where the mother of Mossmore.
Yeah.
Do you know the field? Did you ever see the film The Field?
No, I
John
don't.
B. Cain.
I think I
Yeah,
know. I think I know.
I mean that townland.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
but no grass is like you can't like mountains are mountains, but they try to make grass. They try
Yeah.
to grow grass
Mm-hmm.
on the sides of hills that forever. Like I saw it back in Derrimore there lately, and I saw it up on the side of the hill in the Slieve Mish,
Yeah.
where they cleared all the stone, all the rock.
Yeah.
They're trying to make fields.
Yeah.
I don't know, is it worth it? Like,
Yeah.
to be honest.
The
For sheep.
erosion will be terrible.
Well, I don't know, is it worth it? And I don't know how they get planning for it. I can't figure it out. I don't know the ins and outs of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Let me go back to these folks. Like, so they're going shooting those
Mm.
birds, and they just don't even bother.
no,
You see, that's a bit I don't.
well,
I don't like. Just a bit I don't
but there's
like.
a difference. I'm the kind of a fella where, for me, it's an art form. Having the dogs, the setters, the pointers, going out in the mountain,
Absolutely.
stopping dead. You're coming up with the gun then to shoot the fastest bird alive, a snipe. Nearly as fast as a falcon. You're trying to shoot him, it's nearly impossible. That's why the hunters come from abroad to hunt in Ireland. But they want you've driven shoots where the fellas go in with Springer Spaniels and drive out the birds and they're shot. That to me is just shooting for the sake of shooting. But for on a mountainside with the setters and the pointers, you're going you have to be tough. You have to be fit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's like the shoots in England. That's why there's so much trouble with these shoots in England and in parts of Ireland. They just drive the birds out and there's fellas standing there all dressed up and with a pair of sandals on them.
Yeah.
And where I have a pair of waders on me all the time when I'm hunting,
Yeah.
and they're just shooting the birds. It's for the sake of shooting, not hunting. There's a big difference. I'm a hunter.
I'm with you on that.
I'm a hunter.
I'm with you on that 100%. And I had a conversation with people I know from the UK, and I said like, well, I think that the whole problem, especially when they're driven grouse shooting and all these problems, and I said like, look, English is not my first language, but I really think that the term shooting describes the problem, right? And they will say, oh no, this is how we speak. This is like, but it's like no, and you kind of saying the same thing. Shooting is like you're shooting paper targets.
No,
I go on the range, I shoot, right? And this is like,
yeah, but grouse shooting, I think I could be corrected here, but as far I've hundreds of old books on shooting going way back, and I got some of them in England. I found the last time I was in London, I made a few inquiries, and a black cab driver, my wife's brother, we made off a place, a bookshop down near the Thames, and it was just full of books, thousands of books. And I just walked in and I said, "You have any books on hunting and shooting?" And he says, "No, you'll have to go to the warehouse." So the Helen brother Donald, he's a black cab driver. So he said, "Where is it?" And so and he rang. It was Sunday. He rang the guy and he met us. He said, "There's a man from Ireland. He's interested in hunting books and shooting books." And now this was a warehouse. There was absolutely thousands and thousands of books, and he only had about 8 or 9 books that I was looking for.
Huh.
But I picked out 2 or 3, and he gave me 2 or 3 for nothing.
Uh-huh.
He said, "You're the last of a dying breed." He said. There's not many looking for these books now. But anyway, to get back to the grouse shooting,
Yeah.
the story is that I read now going way back when people had pointers and setters for the mountain, and they had to. There was no way. There was that time they had old boots. I think they had holes in the boots and everything. They'd trudge across the mountain shooting the grouse.
Yeah.
But this old guy, he had 2 sons, and they were with him, and he was so tired, he sat down. And they went up the side of the hill, and next thing the birds started coming down, he started shooting them. He shot a bag of birds, and then that's how the driven shoot was born.
Yes.
He said, "This is good, isn't it?" So he went away and got a load of the peasants, and he got them to go around the back of the hill and drive it, and they stood with their guns and bang bang, and it's continued on to this day. That's shooting. That's like with the bag. I have all the records in the books, all the records. Like they were shooting these guys, these landlords, and their guests. They were shooting thousands of birds.
Yeah.
For the but that time now, you must remember as well. You can't compare that time and now. That was their supermarket.
Yeah.
All those birds were picked up by the helpers and the gamekeepers. They were brought back and hung up, and they were fed to the guests. And,
Yeah.
I
think this is important distinction, right? Like you said, one that was their supermarket, and I guess
and also the other side. Sorry for interrupting you. The other side of the coin then is they killed everything to protect the grouse.
Oh, that was gonna exactly say
They
that.
wiped out all the. They had traps. They killed everything. The last eagle was shot in Killarney by a gamekeeper. They killed everything. All the beautiful birds of prey. They killed them all. And I love my favorite birds of prey. I love them.
Exactly.
I actually challenge.
I was gonna say that. So you're.
Yeah, no, I love the birds of prey. I love them. I think they're an art form. They're all different. But to get back to the dogs and the hunting,
yeah.
I as I said, Lobo was one of the first dogs I trained, and this is a true story. It's absolutely 100% true. I trained him to retrieve duck and geese, and he was an absolutely super dog for retrieving. He'd track a pheasant, like another story. We were on the banks of a river one. There was a big flood in the river, and a cock pheasant broke, and he was halfway across, and I fired, and I hit the bird, and he fell on the other side, but he wasn't hit properly, and he ran. And there was other guys with me. They had one had a retriever, a golden retriever, and one fella had a cocker spaniel. Sorry, a Springer spaniel, and they went out and they were almost washed away. The German Shepherd dog, my dog, jumped. He was gone. They all jumped together, but it was a real bad, big flood, and the lab got across. But Lobo, he was on the trail. I could see him, and the lads were looking. And the next thing he was gone. He was gone a good 20 minutes, and he came back with that bird alive in his mouth. Dived in, brought it back to me alive. That was Lobo. He was an absolutely one-off. But that's and another story is I was with they're both dead now. Mike Sullivan and his brother Benny. We were shooting off Ann Island one evening, and they'd shoot. They stayed on the point, and I said I'd go back towards don't know whose channel, towards Tralee.
Yeah.
Because it was a bad day. Like they were behind the rocks, and the birds would swing around, They'd bang them, and anyway, I thought I heard the widgeon. I thought I heard the load of widgeon, and I couldn't see none flighting. But there was a bit of an embankment, so I crawled. No, this isn't the wet and the shit, and these places it's a terrible place. Like I crawled, and I told the dog, no, this dog was. I'm not exaggerating. He was absolutely super dog the way I trained him, and but he was willing to learn. He just this is truth. No, I told him sit and stay. He sat and he stayed, and I started crawling through the rushes so I could peep over the bow of the hill, because there was a big wind coming in, so the wind was in my favor. And I looked back to see was he sitting, and you're not going to believe it, he was crawling behind me. He was down in his belly crawling behind me. And I had a single barrel shotgun that time now, it was a Stevens shotgun. And I said, stay. And he'd stop and he'd look at me. He wanted to have a look as well, you see, he wanted to see what was there as well. But I put the gun up first, cocked the gun, and I just put the gun up like that, and I peeped over. There was about 200 birds, and I fired into the middle of them. And I reloaded and I fired again as they got up. And he went straight in, right? He had to pick in the birds. Now, a lot of them were wounded, and I hate to see wounded birds getting away. It drives me absolutely insane. But he started bringing them out, and in the end, I stopped him. He was just, you couldn't see him anymore. He'd bring back the bird and he'd go again, go and go. 14 birds.
Oh.
14 birds I picked up and put in the bag. And I was walking back to Mike Sol. He's dead now. He was a great boxer. And he's there. I love shooting, love fishing, and love drinking, like I said. But anyway, I got back to the lads, and you see, the wind was so bad. You probably know from experience, if you're out in a bad windy day, if it's bad enough, you won't hear the other shots. You can't hear them. So he looked at the bag. He said, "Whatever in the bag?" I said, 14 birds. What? I had no shots, he said. And just as he said that, a mallard passed and I shot him. He was looking back, you see. But that was the story. And another story, then we were going down.
Was that the Lobo?
Lobo, yeah.
Oh. German Shepherds are best dog breed.
Yeah, but he had the extra edge.
Yeah, it was the best dog of the best breed of.
Well, like he in fairness, he wasn't supposed to do these things. But there was a guy who told me he was shooting above in the Dromolin Castle, and when the shoot was over, there was a couple of fellas from Tralee, and they were on about dogs and retrievers. This guy turned around and he said, "The best retriever I've ever seen in my life," he said, "was a German Shepherd who belonged to Bertie Brosnan in Tralee." He said, "I have never seen a dog like him." But Elsa,
there you go.
To go back to Elsa, she was the brown cocker. When I used to shoot the pigeons, I think dogs just learn. You can teach them to sit and stay and relax and keep them under control. But when I'm trained, I'm a professional dog trainer since I was, I must be since around 1978, 79. I started training dogs for people. But the thing is, when people bring their dogs to me, it's not as busy as what it used to be. It's like one time you'd have lots of dogs, but it's all the kids today are not interested in shooting. But then, the reality with dogs, when training dogs, especially the walking dogs, because I had a security business and we trained the German Shepherds, the Rottweilers, the Dobermans, the Mastiffs. We trained them for guard, for patrol work, and we trained them for compound. And they're totally different dogs. Compound dog and an attack dog for protection dog. Totally different dogs. The compound dog is a complete savage. He just tears you to pieces. But he's just naturally aggressive. And people say, "Oh, that's the owner's fault." It's not. You can get when I get in the dogs down through the years, gun dogs. Yeah, I say to the owner, "Give me 100 quid. Leave him there for a couple of weeks. I'll see what he's like. If he's worth training, I will." "No, I'm after paying €1,000 for that dog. Of course he's worth training." I said, no, don't work that way. I said 50-60% useless. Okay? 20%. I said, out of every 100 dogs, you might get 2 good ones. Great ones. The rest, like 90% of them, you might have forget about them.
Is it depends on the individual dog, or was it like a more of a
Each,
lineage where they come
no,
from?
all individual dogs. Every dog is different. I got a dog one time. These dogs pop into my head, you know. I got a dog one time. He was a half of. I'm glad we're talking about dogs, no, because dogs are as I said, they are the real hunters, you know. You're there with them, and the man, the gun, the elements, the dog. It's just like to me, it's a work of art.
Yeah.
The dog is out there. When you're with a good dog, like you're made, you know, you have to be out with a good dog, and you know, to get back to the dogs. I bring out the dogs, I run them out, and 'tis either in them or it isn't. I don't start training dogs that like to walk the heel, and I want them hunting first. First thing I do is I want to get them hunting and get them to come back to me to the whistle. I train them to a recall whistle, a 210 dog whistle. But it's no good training a dog to sit and stay and then find out he's shit, he won't want. It's like a greyhound that won't chase the hare or won't chase the rabbit. You can get 10 dogs in a litter, 10 pups. 9 of them are going to be no good.
Yeah.
But maybe no, you can be lucky. As a fella said to me one time, I never bred a bad pup. Well, I said, if you didn't, you're a liar. Because, because from my experience, you know,
Yeah.
it's in. You can't put it into them. It is either in the dog from day one, from 3 generations ago. Do you know what I'm saying? It's either in.
That's what I was asking, whether there is an element like of the lineage, like a generations where the dog comes from, or as it can be dog that has like a best, parents and grandparents lineage and everything is perfect and the
Well,
dog is no
well,
good.
well. The thing is, I'll go back to this black little dog I got one time. He was a kind of a cross between. He was jet black, but well, no, I can still remember him now. He was a jet black. He belonged to an old woman, and she couldn't look after him. And she rang me. And she said, "Will you take this dog, Bertie?" He said, "I can't handle him, you know." And so he was jet black. He was like a greyhound. He was a horrible looking thing. He was very thin, and he had a white chest, and I had him in the kennels. I left him there for a few weeks, fed him, gave him his water. And then one day I was going out with training another dog. I said, I'll bring him along. And we brought him out anyway, and one of my dogs set, and a snipe got up, and I fired the snipe. And the next thing was, my dog went out, found the snipe. I put the snipe in the bag, and I looked over, and the black dog was gone. Oh, I said, he's gun shy. That's another thing. Gun shy dogs, forget about it. There's no cure. I tried everything. I'm at it 50 years. Forget about them. Because I'll tell you why. If you're
So
out,
just scared of the loud noise.
it's just we all have faults. We all have faults in us. You know, we all have our fears, our ups and downs. But the thing is, with dogs that are gun shy, it's not. You can't blame the owner. You can't blame. It's just something
In the dog.
in the dog. And the next thing anyway was I couldn't see the dog. Couldn't see him nowhere. This is true. No, I went back to the vehicle, to not far from my cabin. I put my dog in, put my bag. I went back with my whistle. I put the gun across my back, and I walked along a dike, and I walked along. It was getting dark as well. I wanted to find him, like. And the thing is, I had a little bell on him.
Yeah.
I told you that before, didn't I have bells. I get them in Bulgaria every year when I go over, bring them back. And I had a little bell on him. With new dogs, I always put a bell on, because if they go into the bushes and things, I know where they are. You can hear them.
Yeah.
I know there's locators now. There's all modern ones now. All that you can buy all those for 500 and 600 quid, like. But I have the bell, and I think it's a great job. But anyway, to make a long story short, I went into the wood, and I walked along the line of the wood, the inside. There were big high trees, and there was. Whatever look I gave, I thought I saw him over in the corner, just through the break of the trees. There was a break, and I thought I saw it. I went over, and he was set solid. Set solid. Went in, threw the gun back, and next thing I walked off to him, and the woodcock broke out, and I shot the woodcock, and he brought the woodcock back to me. Now that was his first day out on the field, no training, no none. I rubbed his head, put the lead on him, brought him back to the car, and I sold him after. I got about 600-700 quid for him. That was a good bit of going on. I sold him on to a fella because he was a bit, even though he was a great dog, he was a bit too small for me. I need big dogs for the mountain, for the dikes, and you know, you need dogs with big legs, high off the ground, and they're going to cross the bogs. If they're too small, they can fall in. There's narrow dikes in the mountains, and they fall down into them. You know the big dikes for what they use it for draining the bogs. And I've lost a few dogs, but I always got them after. I was just lucky, you know. But they're the stories with dogs. But we're sitting down talking about hunting, but that's hunting. That's not shooting.
Yes.
That is not shooting.
Yes.
That is the dog earned his keep. He goes out and he finds the bird. They have a great soup. I call it the computer. They try the nose up in the air and bang.
Yeah.
And the people tell me they haven't seen a grouse for years. I meet grouse every year because I have great dogs.
There you go.
Fellas go across the mountain. They're like, they're not up there. I go across after them. Like, you know, it's hard work looking for the what's left of the wild grouse. Now, I might shoot one or two. That's it every year, but that's it, one or two. And usually the cock, if I can, you're better off shooting the old cocks because by all accounts they cause a lot of problems for the hens. The old birds, they're no good to the young hens. They're upsetting the nests and upsetting the.
Oh, really?
They're upsetting, yeah, you know, the breeding time. And
yes.
When they're on the nest, you know, that's the story anyway. I don't know if it's true or not. But
how did you get into this dog training?
It is in me like the dog. From an early age.
Perfect answer.
Yeah, it is in me. That's it. I can go out there when I'm out in the mountains and the fields. I never feel alone. I'm watching everything that moves around me, and I'm part of it. Everything has its own business. You know, every fly, like the midges. It's like the dock fly. It's like the bees. It's like the butterflies, the birds. They all have their own little thing to play.
Yeah. And
like the Indians just say, when the last animal is lost and the last bird is lost, we'd be in a sad state. You know.
Yeah, no doubt.
But that's all part of our psyche. You know. That's part of the spiritual, the beast in us. You know.
I know what you're saying.
You know what I mean? That's us.
Exactly.
That's the human. But you see, we're gone into the concrete jungles. We were going through Killarney the other day, myself and my wife. It was absolutely packed. And I said to Helen, "Do you notice anything different?" And she said, "The grass." She's all they're doing, and I've been telling her this for years. You know, when people are cutting the lawns, I've always been against that, even though she cut the lawns the other day and out there now. But they're cutting the lawn along the footpaths. They're just cutting the little track down. They're leaving the back part. Did you notice that? They're doing that. And I said to Helen, "No, wasn't I right all along?" They call this thing a weed, that thing a weed, the other thing is a weed. There's no such thing as a weed.
Exactly.
It's man-made. It doesn't suit them, so they pull it out. They want something else in there instead.
This is like obsession with tidiness.
Well, when you go back to the farming, they have to grow the crops to feed the multitude. That, you know, and they're gone into the synthetic stuff now, aren't they? They're doing all these experimental things now, and a lot of people are against it, and they're afraid it'll get into the wild. But of course, it'll get into the wild too. Just like the road, you see what happened to the fires and the fires in Killarney. They've come to the conclusion. What
they come to the conclusion?
Yeah, I read it in the paper, but a funny thing happened. We brought our grandchild off to Kate Carney's cottage up around that side of the mountain. We got a jaunting car and we went all around, in the summertime. That was before the COVID.
Yeah.
And I spent a lot of time in that side of the world shooting as well. But the thing is, I noticed the rhododendrons in the sides of the hills. I said they were like skeletons. They were like just snow white. And I said, are they poisoning the rhododendrons? They said, yeah, the jaunting. He told me they're poisoning them all. And by all accounts, what happened with this big fire? No, they reckon it started in Danish, which they can't blame the farmers for. But a lot of, I don't know what nationality you are again. What nationality?
Polish.
But you know yourself, a lot of your countrymen, they like the Barbies and they like the few cans. I reckon something like that. No, I'm not blaming no one, but something like that must have set off a little brush fire. But what really ignited it was those rhododendrons that were dead. They were like kindling. They really took off.
And that was what...
Well,
you read that in the paper?
I read it in the paper and I saw it on YouTube. Some fella came to that conclusion. The next thing I saw it in the paper. No, that could be the truth.
Yeah.
But it's you see, the rhododendrons were brought into Killarney and a lot of the estates in Ireland, like I told you before. I don't want to go along the same road, but they were brought in for woodcock shooting.
Really?
Yeah,
Rhododendrons?
they were brought in for wood. I can show you in the old books where you'll see the rhododendrons, and then the gamekeepers, they'd cut paths through them so the woodcock could come down because they're evergreen and they're very sheltered, and they used to make the paths through them, just like the paths now in the forestries, and the woodcock would come down and glide into them,
Yeah.
and they loved them. And that's one of the. But of course, they were brought in for the gardens as well. When other people saw them, then they wanted for their gardens, and that's one of the reasons. But I think when we got our free state, the Irish Republic, we were given the national park by Bourne Vincent, and the thing is, I suppose things weren't kept up like when the old landlords had them, everything was looked after. I suppose the cost of it, the cost of labour, and times have changed. That's why the rhododendrons have gone completely out of control,
Yes.
They can say invasive species. Sure, everything is an invasive species, if you ask me. You know what I mean? But no, I don't know what the answer is, to be honest. As I said to you already at the beginning, when all the mountains, like especially in North Kerry, there on the stacks, they were completely taken over by the spruce trees. They took the whole mountains in. They destroyed the Curlew's gone from there. Curlew's gone. Corncrake is gone. The Hin Harrier is nearly gone now because they've changed the environment. They've changed the habitats.
Absolutely.
But what happens then? It can be a good thing or a bad thing, I don't know. New species, this red squirrels are plentiful over there now.
Red squirrels?
Yeah. I saw one dead in the road again the other day. That's the third one I've seen dead in the road in the last 2 years. I picked up 2 of them in the deep freeze. I might get them stuffed. But
stuffed. Okay.
they haven't, they were in Killarney, but it's great to see them. They're over there, and there's jaybirds there. There's there's I've never seen a kingfisher over there, but there's the dippers and there's the herders, and there's lots of different species, plenty of them, foxes, badgers, hare, mountain hare. They're still there, and that habitat suits all those.
What's your view on badger calling?
Well, it's like everything, the badger calling, the badger is innocent. He's an innocent party. The culprit again is the farm. What happens is you have the cattle grazing, they carry the TB, the badger goes in, he catches the TB, but he goes on to the next farm, he's the carrier then.
Yeah.
And that's the problem. So they have no choice. But they kill, whether he has it or not, they kill him.
Yeah. And I read somewhere that the eliminations of badger has to only really small impact on the overall TB in cattle.
Well, I'd
This
say,
is not like a major vector. It's like a small part.
well, my way of thinking is that if you're in a real dairy, the Golden Vale now, where there's a lot of cattle, like, and big farms, and they, like, to get the TB in would be a disaster.
Mm-hmm.
So I
No
think
doubt.
I think, like where I am now up in the mountains there,
Mm-hmm.
there's hardly no farming,
Mm-hmm.
it's nearly gone.
Mm-hmm.
But where you have thousands of cattle,
Yeah.
to be very difficult to take the chance would be.
Yeah.
I don't think so.
No, and look. This is a difficult situation that for the farmer, whose livelihood depends on
Well,
it.
the livelihood
That's
and plus the
devastating.
product he's producing,
Yeah.
and I don't know if this is true either, but by all accounts, the mountain hare, the red hare, the Irish
Mm-hmm.
hare, he was infected with liver fluke from there was so much sheep
Yeah.
on the mountain. Liver fluke.
Yeah.
By all accounts, now I don't know. I'd have to as the man says, you'd have to Google it. But the thing is, I was told by a guy that knows his stuff that he said they reckon a lot of the hair got the liver fluke.
Mm-hmm.
So that's another,
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's your view on the sheep farming on the hill? Do you think that, quote unquote, taking sheep off the hills is a good thing, or?
Well, it's as simple as black and white. If something is managed properly and everything taken into consideration by proper managers, environmentalists, proper managers, everything can be done. But unfortunately, when you have grants,
Mm-hmm.
when people are chasing money, you're going to have disaster.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where the problem is, the cash.
Mm-hmm.
It's like going back to the salmon. When the salmon are €40 for a dead salmon,
Mm-hmm.
they're going to be killed. They're going
Yeah.
to be killed unless they're well protected.
And like with rhino horn, if the rhino horn pound for pound is worth more than gold.
Yeah, same principle. They'll chase the money,
Mm-hmm.
These people. There are people out there. They will chase the cash.
Yeah.
So
no other value, right? Hmm.
But what will we talk about now? But to get back to the Tralee Bay,
Yeah,
that's what I spent a lot.
Is the hunting still going on?
No, you see what happened was what happened there was Tralee Bay. These ornithologists and these environmentalists and what I call the people that know everything.
Mm-hmm.
So they say anyway.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is, they said like the Brent hunting was stopped. That was the start of it. The Brent shooting, they stopped it because they were reckoning they were falling in numbers. Load of rubbish.
Mm-hmm.
Now they're all over the place.
Yeah.
And they're landing in the garden. No,
Yeah.
the shooting never came back.
Mm-hmm. This is one of those things, right?
Yeah,
That if they're gonna right? If something will get banned or prohibited or something, or you lose something, you seldom getting it back.
No. Yeah.
This is why it's like no, let's not.
But then they banned the shooting in Tralee Bay. It's by the way another one of these special areas of conservation. So they banned the shooting, but there was nobody there to stop them.
Mm-hmm.
The clubs didn't challenge them. Nobody challenged them. But I think they're allowed to shoot. But like my day is gone.
Mm-hmm.
Do you understand me?
Mm-hmm.
My day is finished. It's over.
Mm-hmm.
It's only memories,
Yeah. What's your like a conclusion? Is it they're gone because of all the changes, or is it part of you like, okay, it's is there any good that they're gone, or is it, you know what I mean?
You mean the shooting?
Yeah.
Yeah, but you see, the thing is, like the Brent geese, as I said in the beginning, they're horrible to eat.
Mm-hmm.
I'll tell you straight out, they're horrible. No, unless they change, unless the Brent geese that are eating the grasslands.
Yes, that's what I heard. That's why they're doing so good. That's what I heard. That they eating like, what was it, like a 2 kilograms of grass per day.
But they used to eat eelgrass.
Yeah.
In the slob. But I think there's a problem there now. Maybe eelgrass is not there anymore. due to pollution, I don't know. But unless the population of them have eaten it out, I don't know. And now they're moving on to the farms. But if they do enough damage in the farms, the shooting will come back.
I was gonna say that actually.
Be it legal or illegal,
Mhm.
they'll shoot them, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
But
Well, it's tough. It's tough. Listen, we're gonna be coming to an end of this.
mm,
It's absolutely fantastic to hear those stories from you, Bertie, of things that were like how do you think it's gonna play out in the future? Like, do you think that at some point we gonna get something back in terms of the environment? Because what I see, you know, in the podcast I cover a lot of these topics, and I actually, you know, there's a one-on-one of what we are talking about: the environment, the impact on the environment, the impact of farming, hunting, shooting, all this stuff. But I kind of feel like there is a the tide is like, maybe tide is turning. It's too optimistic, but you know the water will stop coming in. Like, do you think that because we lost so much, people start to wake up to that and say like, hang on a second, we need to do something about it, and that will give some hope for the future?
well, you see, look, it's as simple as this. When babies are born, like I was, I grew up in a place that was surrounded by natural things. And as you asked me, you know, about the what made you get into this, I was born for it. I wanted to do it from a very early age. I just progressed. I
Mm-hmm.
progressed from the first two dogs to going across the fields chasing the rabbits to training dogs to learning about snipe shooting, how to have the dog setting, the big pointing dogs, the Irish setters, the English setters, the setting dogs, the spaniels and what they're used for, the big retrievers and the German shepherds in for the security. It all kind of fell in, you know, it was like a page opened and I was onto something else, another page, I done something else. And then I started training the dogs down through the years. And then I absolutely loved doing the guidebook for the French,
Mm-hmm.
shooting with the French out in the mountains.
Mm-hmm.
They loved, you know, they're living in cities and they're thinking of this, you know, they tell me they're thinking of this. They're doctors and ambassadors and all high powered earners, and they come to Ireland, you know,
Mm-hmm.
to go shooting snipe in the cold, wet, stormy weather. And they have all the best of clothes. And the first thing I tell them is take off half the clothes, lads, because after half an hour with me, you'll be fucking throwing them off.
Mm-hmm.
They come with too much clothes and they have the best of guns. And a few of them then started bringing their own dogs so I could start training the dogs with them, you know, because they saw my dogs.
Uh-huh.
They said, would you, but you see, they can bring, well, this COVID thing has messed
Yeah.
everything up, but they have these special vans made for their dogs. I mean, so I've seen shows inside in vans for dogs. I'm not joking, you know. I mean, these are not just vans. These are specially made.
Mm-hmm.
They're
Yeah.
made specially for the dogs. That everything is an alloy, you know, steel plate.
Yeah, yeah, I saw those.
I have photographs of them there, like,
Mm-hmm.
and you know, there could be 6 compartments, and they travelled in like they could be they'd stay in like they make a lot of money for Gallagher and places
Mm-hmm.
for the winter. They're staying in the guest house, the Bianconi and all the guest houses and around the place. And they're out in the mountains hunting then, you know,
Mm-hmm.
with their dogs. And I'll tell you one thing that I never saw. I when the French, you know, the French got a bad reputation back in the 70s,
Mm-hmm.
but it's like the badger.
Mm-hmm.
The reason they got a bad reputation, that some that people made sweeping statements, they shoot everything.
Mm-hmm.
That's all lies.
Mm-hmm.
Because when they come out with me, I'm the guide, I'm the boss. They're here for snipe shooting over setters and pointers.
Mm-hmm.
And they're interested in when there's a line of guns going across the mountain and I were lined across and my dogs are out in front of them and they want the dog stop. It's the nearest gun gets the shot. Nobody else fires.
Mm-hmm.
They walk up to the dog. I move in with the dog. The rest of them stop and stand back. unless the bird goes down the line. But when they're shooting with their own dogs, nobody shoots the bird. Only the finder of the bird. When Tommy's dog finds the bird, you shoot the bird. Bertie doesn't shoot at that bird. That's your dog's bird.
Yeah.
So when the bird goes down the line, no one shoots him. And the other thing is that they shoot because they hunt, they kill, and they it's like that's their prize. They love the bird. They pluck them. They make these. I often went back now to Brand. There's a friend of mine, a Frenchman. They cook the woodcock, the snipe, and they're absolutely master chefs. The way they cook.
The French, huh?
Yeah, they're master chefs. And the way they cook the birds and drink their wines, and you know, I don't care what anyone says. You know, a lot of fellas be, oh, you shouldn't be bringing them in here, and you shouldn't be doing this, and you shouldn't be doing that. We've all the permissions. We have the gun licenses, the dog licenses. They have the cash. They're spending it in Killarney, Killarney. Do you understand that? With all the shooting rights are owned by different farmers. That's all leased from the promoter. There's big money being spent, like.
Yeah.
And these guys, as I said, they're high-powered people, mentally and cash-wise. They have the woodcock and the snipe. That's their prize. They're not interested in pheasants. Now, when I was in France, hunting the pig, the wild boar, I stayed in France with friends of mine over there, and we hunted the wild pig, and there's red deer there, there's roe deer, and there's all that, you know. Probably in Poland as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, there,
Yeah.
But they used to kill the thrush, the big thrush.
Big church.
Used to kill them because I came in one day and I won't give any names. The son of my friend, they were roasting the thrush over the fire, and they gave it to me. It was absolutely beautiful. So, but they do that in Ireland, but in France, but they don't do it in Ireland.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. And tell me, Bertie, how, like a last question, how's the woodcock population? Are there any numbers? Are the population crashing?
Well, you see, we go back to the curlew. At the moment, no, there's a big issue about curlews. You see, but the curlew is lost to the habitat change. That's it. And when they were putting down those trees, the people in charge, the wildlife rangers, the departments, they should have known all that. Why did they leave so much trees in one area, you know? Do you know where I'm coming from? Like, you know, if some fella goes building a road, straight away there's a big study done by the environmental people. So, you have to stop here because there's a snail crossing the road. There was none of that done when they were building, when they were planting the forestries.
Yes, exactly.
In environmental impact studies, there was none of that done. So, that's a simple question. And as I said to you, they're all gone into the woodwork when the birds are gone. They don't care. They're getting their salaries. They don't give a shit. They never did. But the thing is, what were we talking about again?
About woodcock. Like
no. Then I went on to the curlew. The same with the applies to the woodcock. They're talking about the breeding pairs, not the migration. Like I see plenty curlew in Ireland in the winter. They migrate to Ireland.
Woodcock.
And the same with woodcock. There's different species of woodcock come in. We have our own woodcock here. They're a big red. They're you'd nearly know the native fella. He can barely get off the ground. I've seen some very big woodcock. They're native. But then I've seen the small kind of dark woodcock, a bit lot smaller. They come from some part of Siberia, I think. And then you have other woodcock. They come from different parts of the Eastern blocks. As you know as well as I do, what drives nature from one area to another is the bad weather. They have no choice, and then their terrain gets further and further until they come to Ireland. They have no place else to go, only the Atlantic, or swing for France, or down to Spain and places. But it's all due to Mother Nature driving them. They don't come to Ireland because because they want to. They come to Ireland because they've no choice.
Hmm.
The feeding grounds, they swallow. It's like the swallows of yeah. The swallows are well down the shore. The swallows,
Yes.
they're well down. The cuckoos above with me, I hear them, But the cuckoos seem to be plentiful. There seem to be plenty calling going on around,
Yeah.
But the woodcock, like everything, my experience is there's a share. You see, the woodcock, the famous saying with the woodcock, here today, gone tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
You know that saying.
Mm-hmm.
So I could be above in the mountain now. I see the woodcock coming out over my cabin above, If you stand out, you see them. But you could, some days you go into this place and they're everywhere.
Mm-hmm. Oh.
They're everywhere.
Yeah.
And then you could go back 2 days, the following day they could be gone. It's the air pressure moves them.
Yeah.
They keep going south. You see, that's north. They keep pushing towards, they're heading down into Waterville, Kinmare. That's why all that place is famous for woodcock shooting. And then what I notice is that the first place they hit is Ireland, like the Irish coast. They're traveling down all the time. It depends on if you have frost and snow and terrible wind and rain, they're going to move south, heading south all the time. But then in February, now they shoot the woodcock in the other countries in February.
Yeah.
And always there's a lot of woodcock around my place in February. They're moving back then again. They're going for the migration flight again.
Yeah. And if you would compare with the numbers of woodcock like 10, 20 years ago, are they
Well,
significantly less or
no,
the same?
no,
That's a good news.
no. I wouldn't say so. Now, how many people are after woodcock? I remember going into places like you meet 40 or 50 woodcock. You go back the following year, might meet 6. It's a circle, you see. You don't know. You go out every day is different. The days you mightn't go out, there could be plenty of them.
Yeah.
So like in the old days, the landlords, they had their gamekeepers, and they were watching. Oh, that's why they had special trees and special wood. They brought in different. They put different woods and manicured for woodcock shooting because they were prized bird.
Yeah.
They're prized, and the snipe is a different story again. But the thing is, nature can kill. I've heard stories of fellas saying that, when the birds are migrating, they could hit a bad storm and there's thousands of them lost.
True.
Because I remember back in 2010, 2011, you remember the big snow and the big ice
Yeah.
above the mountain. The ground was like concrete,
Yeah.
and there was birds dead all over the place.
Oh, really?
Thrush, snipe, dead everywhere. Broke my heart. Because I had 2 shooters out, they were all bankers. They were in their 70s. They had their own pointer dog, and I brought one of my dogs. I held them, but if we wanted to use them, we could use them, But I said to them, I'm very sorry. I said, there's no snipe. What will we do? I said, we'll try the glens. We'll try along the water course, and we might meet a few woodcock. They were all over the place.
Yeah.
They were everywhere. Every 20 yards, woodcock, picasse. But they'd only shoot some, but they'd miss more than they hit because everything, as you know, woodcock shooting is difficult. And they were in their 70s, but they loved it,
Yeah.
But you see, the woodcock lived along by the river. See the sniper out in the open ground.
Yeah.
And then the woodcock could be driven down from the top of the mountain, And there's another story about woodcock. Fellas be saying to me, they're called woodcock. I don't know why, but that's spend most of the time in the woods maybe. But I shoot lots of woodcock out in the mountain.
Yeah.
Out in the heather. Way up high, good sun, it depends on the weather. Down in the glens, woods, just glens, out in the heather, out in the ferns. I'm out in the mountain with pointers and setters again, no spaniels. Most fellas in Ireland that shoot woodcock, they shoot them with spaniels.
Yeah.
I'm out in the mountain. You can meet a grouse, snipe, woodcock.
Yeah.
You don't know what you're going to meet, you know.
That's a thing. That's the beauty of it,
But
right?
the thing is like when the dog stops,
Mhm.
magic moment.
Mm, yeah.
The heart, the heart that starts. But it's a fascinating thing, you know.
Absolutely.
You know the people, but you can't explain that to a person that doesn't understand it.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like the famous books that are written down through the years. Oh God, I can't think of it now. Oscar Wilde and all these fellas, and there's famous books you have to read them once in your life.
Hmm.
But you get I don't get nothing from that. I do from the only books I read are about the dogs and the hunting and the stories. The
Yeah.
stories. But if you like the magazines now, we have no Irish magazine left.
Hmm.
We're talking about.
Yeah.
There's one comes out every month or something, but the shooting times now and the English magazines,
Yeah.
they have a big population in England,
Yeah.
so they can manage to keep them going.
Hmm.
But it's the same stories all the time, over and over again. If you read one magazine, you've nearly read them all.
Yeah. That's true. It's a little bit like with,
Hunting magazines and all.
yeah, as like with fishing magazines as well. I think they're good for when you're
I have
starting.
thousands of magazines above
Mm.
my cabin, thousands of them.
Yeah.
But the snipe got wiped out. They didn't come back. They were in a bad state.
Mm.
Like, but I'll tell you one thing. When you're snipe shooting with pointers and setters, if there's too many snipe, it's no good.
Oh.
No. What you have to have is a place. If I'm going into a place hunting, I go into the worst spot
Hmm.
because the dogs have to walk hard in the morning.
Hmm.
They have to walk hard to find their birds,
Hmm.
and you get great sets.
Yeah.
But when you go into a place, sometimes 20 or 30 birds getting up, it's not good. The scent is all over the place. The dogs are confused.
I gotcha.
So when you're getting a good set, you're getting a good shot, you're putting the hunter in a good position
Yes.
that they can see the dogs stopping. They're in behind them, then they have a good chance. And then that's the way I like it. I don't like meeting 20 or 30 birds, 10 birds, 15 birds. I
Uh-huh.
don't like that. I always save that for the evening. If we had a bad morning, I'd save that to show them that the sniper are here. I just not having I'm not having them on.
Yeah.
But no, it's a work of art without a doubt. The dog the dog is the master. Like it's like
Yeah.
it's like the great opera singers. That's when you have great dogs, it's wonderful. But I train a lot of dogs, and same with the German shepherds. You get the real good ones,
Hmm.
and then you're always thinking about them. When they're gone, because they don't last long, really.
Yeah.
Dogs don't last long. It's like 7, 8 years.
Hmm.
That's it.
Yeah.
Well, you could sell them on, didn't the fellas that were going out shooting for Sunday morning for 3 or 4 hours, 3 hours. You could sell them on to these fellas then.
Yeah. They can still do
They,
that
they,
job.
they can still do that, but with the way I hunt when I have the tourists is they have to you have to have dogs for the morning and dogs for the afternoon.
Oh,
You have to
okay.
have a team of dogs like, because they walk hard like.
Yeah.
They're like the huskies going across the tundra.
Hmm.
They try pulling the sledges. You have to
Yeah.
have different teams.
Yeah.
It's the same with the dogs. The English pointers now, they're animals. They really burn themselves out. The
Uh-huh.
English the English setters are more steadier dog.
Uh-huh.
But the pointer, the English pointer will cover more ground than three English setters.
Oh.
And then you have the field trial dogs. They're too fast.
Hmm.
They pass a lot of boats.
Uh-huh.
I could
Gotcha.
I could create a storm there now,
Yeah.
but they're too fast.
Yeah.
In my opinion, they're too fast.
Yeah.
They're missing birds.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
The real good dogs like will go out there like and they nose up and
Uh-huh.
but but you can't explain that to people that don't understand it. That's the
Oh,
simple question. But they'll argue about it. Why are you shooting that small little bird?
yeah.
They go down to McDonald's and buy a burger.
Hmm. Hmm. Exactly. Exactly. Exactly.
Are you killing that big? And then Mary had a little lamb, you lamb chops. That's the reality,
That's
like.
the reality,
But
exactly.
that's the reality. But people don't want to see that, you know. Oh
Hmm.
no, look at the lambs, aren't they lovely, darling?
Yeah, yeah,
You know, but
exactly.
the farmers, oh, they're robbing them, you know.
Yeah,
Oh, bollocks.
yeah,
Sorry about that, you can cut
yeah.
that out.
Oh.
Oh, bollocks, like, because they're breeding for money. They follow
Hmm.
the cash.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Bertie, listen, it was absolute pleasure
No
talk with
problem.
you. And like we said, we might have another project in our mind
Oh, we have, yeah,
that we
definitely.
do together.
Oh, we'll have to put all this for future generations.
Exactly, for future generations. Maybe this will be preserved, or maybe someone will just
But
listen and
but
be
to get
jealous.
back to the pups, I have six brothers and one sister. None of them ever done the shooting like I done, or the dogs.
Hmm.
I'm the only one out of the whole lot of them.
Hmm.
Just came to me. Was it just
Yeah.
a natural thing? It was just, no, but I learned from meeting people. You always learn.
Hmm.
You're grown up.
Yes.
But
Yes.
I learned one thing though about the shooting and the fishing. You know, you hear stories about fellas being master anglers, master hunters, master dog. They're supposed to be, but they're not really. It is very hard to get the real Mackay.
Uh-huh.
It's like Arkell, Nijinsky, the great horses,
Uh-huh.
they only come once in 100 years,
Yes.
you know.
Yes.
It's the same with
Yes.
like dogs to me is just a way of life,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know. It's a way of life. I can bring them out and I can tell you,
Mm.
forget about them.
Yeah.
And then they won't talk to you no more.
Yeah.
That fella can't train dogs.
Or is he?
You know. But I always tell people, I can't train the dog.
Mhm. But that's
Tis
a
in
but
him.
that's an honest thing, right?
Tis
Like,
in him or it isn't. For hunting, I can't train him. I can't ask him, please find the snipe for me.
uh, yeah,
That has to be in his genetic code.
yeah,
It's actually more powerful than the dog.
yeah,
He has to do it, whether he likes it or not.
yeah.
That's
You're right.
that's his genetic code, and you can't make a horse go faster. That's his code. He's driven like
Hmm.
sees a horse coming alongside him.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know,
yeah. You're right.
driven like humans. We're all driven. We're all driven to something.
Hmm.
We're all driven to something.
Some of us are driven to hunting and fishing.
Yeah, but unfortunately, the hunter gatherer is nearly gone. Like,
Hmm. Yeah, due to the loss of habitat.
oh yeah, I think the angling is doing too bad at the moment. Especially, I think
But like there's many anglers that they're giving up angling because uh,
I don't know. I'm gone from it. You say I
yeah.
don't really know anymore.
Yeah. Well, listen, over the 14 years I'm here, I noticed decline like in bass fishing.
Mm.
Well, I'm gonna sound like an old man, but I'm fine with that. Back in the days when I started, when my friend showed me, that you can go bass fishing,
Mm.
the number of fish we were catching, there were moments on a certain tide in certain months that we knew we were gonna catch some, like one, two, right? Nothing, but there was a good days, good hauls. Like right now, you go in, you don't catch anything, and I know of many people who just plain gave up on fishing
Mm.
because like, well, listen.
But how good are these anglers?
Well, but you see, it doesn't matter if he's a shitty angler and he was still catching
Yeah,
back then,
I
and now
know.
it's
Yeah.
then
Mm.
there's a decline. So sure, there is a quote unquote master angler who was catching like 30 a session and now still manages to dig out two,
Mm.
but the overall uh,
I,
it's
I was I was horse riding lately with my granddaughter asked me to go back with my wife and my son Daniel.
mhm.
We were horse riding in Kilshannig, and a few things came up. My name,
Mhm.
because he was an oyster fisherman,
Mhm.
the guy that brought us out in the hostage, you know.
Mhm.
Oh, Bertie, how are you? And they know me straight away. I was delighted in a sense. But we were laughing and joking. But that came up now about, we were on about the fishing, you know, and he said about the angling, you know, Maori's still
Yeah.
shining, great place of bass. And he said, oh, you'll be taken to jail now if we kill the bass.
Mhm.
That's what he said to me. Do you know what I mean? Like, he couldn't figure it out. But sure, I suppose they're fished out.
Mhm. Mhm.
They're fished out, and that's it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, anyway,
Anyway,
Bertie, thanks
oh,
again.
no problem.
Appreciate your time. Appreciate
And
being your guest.
we're the appropriate distance apart.
Yeah, we are appropriate distance apart, and I was gonna say it is a great pleasure to actually talk in person with someone because over a year, all episodes were recorded over the internet.
Oh,
Yeah, so it was kind of cool to pack my gear again
mm,
and show up with microphones and
mm.
everything. So always pleasure talking with you.
And maybe someday now, during the shooting season, we'll go up in the mountain with the dogs,
Oh,
and I'll show you the setters and the pointers,
yeah,
and
we'll do that.
that'll be good, you know.
We'll do that.
Actually, there was there is Daniel could find a few probably. There was Germans that they filmed my dogs up in the Stacks Mountains hunting.
Hmm.
Yeah, it was very good, you know.
Okay.
Yeah, they brought the cameras and all, and they done. It was,
We'll do it better. We'll do it better.
well, hopefully.
So people who listen to that and watching this Tommy's Outdoors YouTube
Mm.
channel,
Oh,
subscribe,
we'll do,
subscribe, and
we'll do.
when the time comes, this material will be
Oh,
out
yeah,
there.
yeah, yeah.
All right.
That's good. Thanks very much,
Thank
Tom.
you.
Enjoyed it.